Oh, hello, hello. Welcome to AsyncAPI Contributor First live stream. We meet as usual every week, different times, different days. Today we meet specifically to talk about AsyncAPI spec release process. But before we do it, as usual, at the beginning, that there are not so many people at the stream. So I always take this few first, like 1-2 minutes, to share a link to a specific stream in our Slack. So most active community members can join. So just bear with me. Let me just grab the most important link. So to YouTube, even though we are streaming also to LinkedIn, Twitter, and Twitch. But yeah, I'm from the generation that stick to YouTube. So yeah, just bear with me. In the meantime, please indicate in the chat that you're there and listening, and on what social platform you're actually listening. Hello, whoever is watching, please in the chat say hello. Please. Okay, so links sent. Before we jump into the main topic and I invite to the meeting the special guest, there's one important announcement. So if you joined our Async API conference last week or 2 weeks ago, yeah, it was 2 weeks ago. If you did it, you probably heard that we will do some raffle, like we'll try to pick 10 people from the list of all the people that registered and yeah, randomly select 10 people and send swag packs. And during the conference, I promised that we're going to do a live stream from a like official raffle, that like simply to show that we're not picking just our friends from the list, but actually anyone. But the problem is that we just have emails, and email is personal data. So there was the only way to do it transparently would require us to send to all the registrants email with information about the raffle, assign them some numbers where that would make them anonymous. So there would be a lot of work for us to do to actually make it like fully transparent. But it's just about swags. We're not giving away iPhones on drones. So to make stuff easier, I did already a raffle offline. So I just used a random application called, I can give you the name. The website was commentpicker.com, and the tool was called Random Name Picker. So I've just put all the almost 600 emails there. So you can imagine writing to 600 people without using some good mailing application would be really a extra effort. So I've just put all those 600 emails there. Yes, Ayush, I wish it was Tesla. Um, and yeah, using the application because they have limit, they cannot. We could not say we want 10 emails, so I had to click twice to get 5 different emails twice, which means 10. And so we have them. again, we can't share publicly the names. So if you're watching, um, if you were registered to the conference and you're on the live stream because you are here only to know what's swag, who wants swag. So today not, because it's pretty late now in Poland, but tomorrow I'm gonna send an email to all the 10 emails with information that we still need your shipping address where we can send the swag pack. And we're gonna wait until the end of the week with the information, and then send them out. So yeah, please look into your mailboxes. I can give some hints. So if you work in a company that has domain infosys.com, then you won. Where's my... Ah, I've lost the list. Or if you have an email in gmail.com, you won. But there are plenty, I guess. And if you're super interested, like you'd like to check me out, if I really didn't pick a random names, please contact me on Slack or other channels, like DM me, and I can privately share with you the process I was doing. And I did a kind of screenshot of the results from the application. Uh, yeah, to make sure that I really I was not cheating. I hope you don't mind we did it this way. It's just because we did not foresee all the things when we organized the conference. But we will do better in 2022. So, yeah, let me invite Dave. Dave, you ready? Can you note in the backstage if you're ready? Okay, cool. So let me let you in. Wait, let's. Good. So,
Hello.
hello and welcome. Uh,
Thank you.
do you want to say something before we jump into the interesting topic of release coordination?
No, let's dive right in.
Yeah. Okay. So let me share a screen. I guess that's gonna be the best. So the thing is that, yeah, let me just remind folks that just joined 7 minutes after the start of this live stream. So the live stream contributor first is about contributing to Async API, different parts of Async API, and today we talk about the Async API specification release coordination, because to release Async API specification and underlying tools, it's there's a lot of work to do, and there has to be one owner that owns the whole process and pushes right people on a given time to actually get release done. And this release coordination role is can be held by anyone. So I'm doing this live stream because I did two previous releases if it comes to the release coordination, and Dale is here because Dale volunteered and cannot resign to do the release coordination for next release. So yeah, now after the intro, let me share the screen, the release process instruction. Okay, now let's see how can we arrange. Okay, that's definitely not a screen on which I should share it, because I have one of the screens turned the like horizontal. I'm not sure if that's the right name, but yeah, let me just move it to a normal screen. So, excuse me, let me change screens. Okay, I think this is the right now. Okay, I think it looks better. You think it's good, like the layout, or should we,
Yeah, that works.
or this way,
Oh, cool. Yeah.
or that way? No, we covered the text. Okay. Yeah, let's do it this way. I can still make a screen a bit bigger. Okay, cool. Yeah. So the like some facts about the Async API specification release coordination. So everything we do related to the release should be described in the release process instruction in the spec repo. This instruction is not perfect. I don't think it's ever gonna be perfect because depending on the release, always different person will look into this instruction. So there will always be a place for improvement, and also that's the assumption here. So like you, Dale, for example, if you like the unwritten yet, maybe it should be written. I think it's not written in the instruction. Like we expect that every release coordinator that coordinates a given release later opens up a pull request and improves the instruction with additional information that was missing in the document, and you simply discovered them during the release process. Because yeah, as I said, like it's not necessarily the most the best instruction, because when I added it after the first release, I did it, I think, month after the first release that I coordinated. So of course, my memory was not that good as I would write it during the release coordination. So that's if it comes to the overall information. So what's the idea behind this release process MD file? Now, I already said that in Async API, we want to enable any community member to do release coordination, because actually that's one of the best ways to become a Async API specification a code owner, like help in the project as a long-term maintainer of the project, because the release coordination forces you to learn all the bits and pieces, like all the details about the release process, like who currently in the community is involved in the release, how that's done, how we're picking up the request for changes to get them into the release. So basically, release coordinator at the end of the day is one of the most experienced people in the spec repo. And if it comes to release coordination, there are 4 opportunities a year to do it, because we have a release cycle where we do 4 releases a year always. So the release coordination that Dale will do is set for September, for January 2022. September is over already, and we do not at the beginning of the cycle. So let's say now we have the cycle for January release. We do not say what version will it be, if it's going to be minor or major, because we don't want to make such decision, because it all depends on the types of the contributions of the request for changes that we get into the release branch. And now I see a comment from Jonas that my screen share is really grainy. What do you mean grainy? Is it like hard to read, or the quality is?
I guess he means the resolution's a bit low.
Okay, so let me, instead of sharing the application, I'm gonna share a entire screen. Maybe then it's not gonna have to scale it, maybe. Anything improved?
Not really.
Interesting.
That helps.
Okay, then yeah. Unless somebody has some good idea, better idea that I just used, so making text larger, then please let me know, because I um, I don't really know how to fix it if the video is good. So it's not the video quality; it's somehow related to the resolution of the screen share, but I can't really change anything in Restream. But yeah, I hope that making text bigger just solved the problem. Okay. Release cadence, we covered that. And now phases. So when Dale, feel free when I will discuss each phase. I think I'm gonna even try to execute few because yeah, we have 45 minutes. Maybe I'm gonna be able to execute a few steps because we did not yet made any preparation for next release. So yeah, the key, there are different phases of the release. So kickoff. So we start by creating release branches and a placeholder for release nodes in the AsyncAPI block. So basically, so why release branches? If you know the contribution guide for the specification, we indicate that release is not only release of the specification. To release a specification, we always also at the same time release the Json schema for AsyncAPI spec and also a parser. So on the same day, we don't only release the text of the spec, but we also release a basic functionality needed to validate AsyncAPI documents with the latest version. And that's why we need to create release branches not only in the spec repo, but also in the JSON spec JSON schemas and parser.js. Now, it's not job of the release coordinator to do it. Release coordinator is coordinating, is pushing right people, finding right people to do it, unless of course has like if release coordinator is actually a person that is already full-time maintainer of the related repos, then of course you have right to create branches. Otherwise, you just have to ping a given maintainers of a given repo. So yeah, and the release branches, they have specific agreed names. So it's the year when we do the release, the month, and then the suffix. So yeah, let's do it live. Hope you don't mind. So I am not nerdy enough to create branches with command line. I just respect people that create front end and want to use their UI. So yeah. So it's 2022. It's going to be 2022 01 release. Okay, so that's going to be the name of the branch for a next release scheduled for January. And we don't have one, so let's create it. Okay. Next one is JSON schema. And let's also locate parser. So in JSON schema, Okay, so the basics are done, and they are needed. They are not prerequisites to actually for anyone in the community to work on their request for changes. But just the important is to know, like for example, I know that for January, we will one of the requests for changes that will come in is probably to add Solus binding to the spec, because Solus already worked on a binding in the binding repo. It's already merged, approved, so it's just a matter of adding it to the spec. And now, if, like for example, if the contributor already works on an RFC on a default branch in spec or the parser, just we need to remember that when we are in the stage 3 of the request for change, all the works have to be rebased, and they cannot be, like, pull request cannot point to the default branch, to the master branch, but they have to point to the release branch. So that's some extra effort that contributors have to take if they are picked for a given release cycle. They just need to make sure that they're not trying to merge pull request to the master branch, but rather the name of the the branch with the name of the release. So yeah, we have all the release branches ready. So definitely as a release coordinator, so note for you, Dale. Next days, please let know people in the specification channel that we have those. If they were needed them, then just inform people that we have release branches for January release created in 3 the most important repos. And yeah, so that's it if it comes to the releases. And the most important question and answer, like, okay, next time in a year, how can you know who to ask to create those branches? You can always just ask in the specification channel or any other channel on the Slack. There will be always people answering, but there's also a technical way to do it. So we don't have yet this file in all the repos, but we eventually have to have them in all the repos. It's a file called code owners. So every single repository should have a code owners that indicates who has a right access to a given repo, because a given person from the code owners maintains project and approves pull requests, so therefore has to have right access. So basically, pick names from those files. Until next release, I hope we will already have them in the spec Json schema and parser.js, because we don't have those files there. So yeah, next release it should be even easier, because code owners files will be there for April release. Okay, so yeah, we even have a screenshot in the instruction. That's awesome. Okay, once feature branches are created, we must there must be some initial configuration done in each repo. It's good that we have this release process document, because I don't remember what is it. But yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. So when somebody contributes something to the spec, people focus on their request for change. But there are things in each repo that are like above a single request for change. So for example, the release coordinator also has to push someone, ask someone for help, or on his or on her own, open up APR to the release branch and fix the version of the async API in the examples, in the existing examples. So yeah, in the AsyncAPI spec repo, we have examples directory, and all those examples simply have to point to a specific version of the of the of the AsyncAPI that we release. This part is a bit complicated because you don't always know what version it will be. Like, you can assume that it's basically going to be 2.3 version, because that would be like super hard to do 3.0 release, really, right before like 2 months before the release cycle. But yeah, like, you don't have it, like, you're not 100% sure at the beginning of the release cycle. So that's something maybe to improve in the instruction, Dale. I don't know. Maybe instead of having it as a kickoff, rather have it as a checklist, something that, like, basically nobody will remember about it. It's something that release coordinator has to push to get it done, because these are stuff that are not related to a specific contribution done by the community. In case of specification JSON schemas repo, there has to be done a modification, meaning, like, we need to create a new JSON schema file with the like name of the version that we will work on. It's very important if that's done when the release branch is created, because if we don't change it and somebody else has to do it within his contribution, then it's going to be pretty hard to track what specific parts of the file were changed by a contributor. Then there's a lot of discipline on the contributor side to make sure, like, that changes are done in a separate commits. So yeah, in the JSON schema repo, we need to basically copy. It's not bad if you just assume some version at the beginning of the cycle and then it's going to be changed to some different name. The most important is that once we have the release branch, we need to get into the release branch a new version of the JSON schema file. And yeah, whoever is working on request for change will have to make some changes in the PR to actually make them in the right file. So not 2.2, but 2.3. So that's one thing in this repo. And then additional manual stuff that has to be done. It's in the code, in the main index.js. You just have to add new file to the module export. And yeah, so yeah, to basically expose the spec in the library. Maybe this could be fixed as with some script, something to maybe improve. But yeah, for now, you just have to manually make a copy of the JSON schema and export it here in the library. And third thing, it's in the parser.js, what you have to do is like, also the sooner the better, because, like, the idea of having changes done quickly in the parser.js is also to enable others that maintain other tools to also check the release candidate in their tooling and start working on some features related to the release that will come. So so we need to expose this new version to the users of the parser, and you have to do it in, now I'm not sure if I remember correctly, but it's, I think, here. Yeah, exactly. So you need to go to the parser.js lib directory, AsyncAPI schema format parser.js, and you need to basically add a additional new MIME type for a in case of 2.3, you just need to duplicate these three lines with the new MIME type. So, and these are like they should be prefixed with conventional commits as a horror change, and that's something that should be done at the beginning. And and the most important is also the so parser has spec JSON schemas as dependency. So you, in the release branch, you also have to make sure that that parser.js is actually using the release candidates, not the like default release of the JSON schemas library. Because when we create a branch with this release suffix, we already have a CI integration and configuration that provides release candidates releases. So basically, if you have a pull request with some feature to the release branch, when we merge it into the release branch, the CI will release an npm package, but it will release a package with a specific name that will indicate that it's a release candidate, that it's not a main package, but it's annotated in npm, as far as I remember, as next. And then there's a specific version just for release produced. So so going back to the release process, before, like, to enable this release candidates configuration, you need to make changes they can be in the same PR as we talked before. You just need to change the configuration in these three repos. Let me just open one to show you what is it. That's something that, unfortunately, it's you can't use wildcards in the tooling that we use, in the plugins that we use. So we basically have to manually change that part from the old release to the new name of the branch with the new release name. That's unfortunately manual stuff that semantic release package is not yet supporting. No wildcards. But that's super needed to enable us to produce release candidates. Now, release notes. There's the whole section about it, but why release notes? As I told you, like, Kickoff is not just some initial configuration in some repos, but also AsyncAPI release notes in the AsyncAPI blog. So just learned by my lessons. Like, in the beginning, I was writing release notes really at the end of the release cycle, but it's a lot of work, and it's like you need to dig in your head a few months back and figure out how many things are there. It's really manual work that you want to avoid, and you also want to include contributors in the process of creating release notes. So basically, the instructions assume that the best way is if you also on the same day open up a draft PR to the website repository with a blog post called release notes, and you share it also with the contributors. So whenever something that contributors already have approved and it's merged into the release branch, feel free to ask first contributors to contribute to the release notes. Like, or at least add some comment like what they would like you to emphasize the most in the release notes, like what is the most important in a given change in the spec. And suggestion is to do it from the day one, because then at the end of the cycle you just give it for a grammar review, and but you don't have to worry about the content. Just make sure that you allow edits and access to secrets by maintainers. So if you can't edit the release notes, something happens, you need some support that anyone from the maintainers on the website repo can also contribute and help you out with the editing of the release notes. And there's even an example of such a draft PR. Okay, so that's it if it comes to the kickoff stage. Any questions, Dale?
Makes sense.
Okay, cool. Okay, so once we have all the basics, then we go into the review and merge. And when I was writing this process, I basically decided to make it easier as well for me. So instead of like really step-by-step instruction, it was easier to just put a bullet list of all the rules that as a release coordinator you have to pay attention to. So the request for changes, like anyone can review, and just remember to always consult with the contribution guide, and feel free really to ping the people that are in the code owners. At the moment it's just me and Fran, but just like look on the request for changes, look at them, especially the stage 3. You're not obligated as a release coordinator, you're not obligated to help people to go from stage 1 to stage 2, or from stage 3 to stage 3. The most important is the stage 3 accepted for you, because it means that already the community agreed on a contribution, code owners agreed to it, marked it as accepted. But it could be marked as accepted like before the release cycle started, right? So the proposal could be created, let's say, looking on the next release that we have in January. Like we started preparations today, but let's say we marked some requests for changes as stage 3 accepted a week ago. So the contributor is fully relying on us to know what are the next steps. So we need to, like, release coordinator needs to see if there is anything marked as stage 3 accepted, and inform a given contributor that there is a release branch created in a specific repo, that they have to modify their pull request to point from the to not merge it into the master branch, but rather the release release branch. We can do it for them. I did it once, and it was a lot of work, and I felt really lost, and I was afraid that I'm gonna actually lose some things, because sometimes if you worked on APR for a few months, this rebasing from master to some release branch, depends when you do it. It can cause some conflicts, some situations that actually the contributor should deal with, because they know the best what parts should be, how the conflicts should be solved. So I encourage you to just give instructions, then try to do it on your own, because of the risk. Now, before you accept something that can be actually merged into the release branch, just make sure that the labels are there, that it's accepted, that again, it's created against the feature branch. Maybe we should call it release branch in the instruction, and that the RFC is accepted and just double check, but it should be accepted because this condition is actually met. So basically make sure that you're merging something into the spec, but there are already reference implementations in the JSON schema, of course, and the parser, they are approved and they're actually also ready to merge. Just keep that in mind. And yeah, the code owners, I already talked about it. Merge. Yeah, so now merge can be done by repository code owners because it's all about the rights, access rights. So yeah, you have to ping folks to just click merge. Yeah, pay attention to the feed prefix. Feed exclamation mark only for major versions. And yeah, this is something that is super tricky, and it's you have to pay attention to it. So basically, yeah, let me have a look on the example. So we are in the parser. So basically, when you are ready, like to get the pull request merged, in case of parser.js, you have to make sure that it is using where is it? Yeah, this one. That it is using a proper version of AsyncAPI specs package, because that's the npm package that holds the JSON schemas, and it has to point to the right release candidate that actually contains the contributed things. So what I mean is that, like, first you merge in case of request for change, you merge a spec PR, then you merge a JSON schema, the PR in the JSON schema repo, and then you have to wait a bit for automation to publish a release candidate. And once you have the release candidate, you need to use it in the like, you can change it, or best just use the ask the contributor to update the version in their pull request to point to the release candidate from the schema, and from the schema from the package that holds the schema, because otherwise people will not be able to use the release candidate if parser doesn't point to a proper schema a package. And yeah, that's what I explained. So first you merge spec, then spec JSON schema, and then parser.js. That's the order. And yeah, next steps: update the release notes, push contributors to give them option to also edit the release notes, and here, huge request also, even though JavaScript converter, playground, that should be most probably upgraded to Studio, this here on the list, React component, Markdown template. So there are some basic tools that they are not, like, contributor does not have to add new features to those tools, but there are very active maintainers that will make sure that it's there. So even though they're active and they most probably will notice new releases, as a release coordinator, just remember that once a first request for change is already merged, and we know that it's going to go into the next release because it's already merged into the release branch, please ping folks from the like maintainers of these repos, that and when the next release is coming in, and then that some requests for changes are already merged. So if they want to support them in these tools, they can start working on it. And what was this about? They should point to the... yeah. So when first request for change is merged, it, like I already said it, like it means that we will for sure have something for the next release. We're gonna release it. So you have to open up a pull request that will point from a release branch into the master branch. So we can already reflect transparently that like the release will happen, and people can already see what will be released. And that has to be done in all the 3 repositories. So that's manual stuff that has to be done once the first feature is merged. And yes, ping maintainers of the website, or you can open up pull requests on your own. Like basically we, because we know that release will happen, and I actually as a release coordinator, I forgot about this step, and and it's pretty important. Shame on me. But we need to update documentation, right? So some guides are very specific on the version of the spec, and yeah, it would be nice really to have on the release date have also the documentation reflecting the latest version of the AsyncAPI spec. So yeah, please keep that in mind. And if it comes to communication, then yeah, release candidates, that's automated, so you don't have to worry about it. We have automation that will tweet every single release candidate. It will tweet them to Twitter, but also there will be a message in the dedicated Slack channel where we notify every new release. But of course, proactiveness is encouraged. So I guess like information in the specification channel, maybe we should even have it written here in the instruction that we should like, even though we have some automation, would be good to have a memo from the release coordinator in the specification channel that given the release is there. And yeah, ship it. So we like the release process, the release cadence does not specify a day of the release. We only specify a month of the release. And it's up to the release coordinator to decide when is the best day to make a release, because it all like majority of the work depends on the release coordinator and your time and your like basically your time and how much you can spend on it. And like coordinating is a lot of work. It's not pushing people and getting how they say getting shit done. It requires a lot of work, so it really depends on you, on your availability. So if you, for example, see that there are already, let's say, 3 RFCs merged, so it's already a rich release, there are few changes that need to be communicated properly, feel free to say that like, okay, once we merge a third RFC, we need to like really like say, okay, no more RFCs because we have like, let's say 2 weeks or 3 weeks until the end of the January, and we would like to update more tools to support those new features, so we should not accept more RFCs. So then you just ping the maintainers of given tools and give them like 1-2 weeks to update tooling, and then do the release. So that would be it if it comes to the day. And what it means, like to ship it, like to actually release it, it's like, yeah, you have to merge a pull request from a release branch to the master branch, and the same order like with the release candidates. So first goes spec, then spec JSON schemas, then parser, and then the rest of tooling can follow, because most of the tools use parser.js. Just of course keep in mind that like when you release parser.js, like with release candidates, you need to make sure that it's really pointing to new AsyncAPI spec release and not a release candidate. It's pretty easy to overlook it. Yeah, coordinate with the maintainers so they know that they can start releasing their packages. Merge release nodes. So yeah, in the meantime, like when you know that like release will happen in 2-3 days, no more changes in the release nodes, then ping maintainers of the website for a final review of the release nodes, so we can easily merge it. And yeah, ping now who ping to. We don't have yet a decision who owns all the social accounts who can do it. So in January, it's probably gonna be still me that you have to ping to make some official tweets from the official account. Actually, no, wait. So on LinkedIn, I have to do it manually, but on Slack you can do announcement, and actually on Twitter you can also do announcement on your own. That's something new. Something that you will have to contribute to the release process instruction. So I'm not sure if you noticed, but now we can anybody in the community can suggest tweets. So let me make it smaller a bit. So we have a workflow and a document Twitter together where we describe how to actually create through a pull request a tweet, and that would be actually the best way to work on the tweet. So you don't just rely on someone to tweet it, but actually upfront you can already suggest how a given tweet should look like, or ask someone to help doing it. But yeah, the best would be to have the tweet on a pull request. It's as easy as, I think we have one pull request opened from Barbanio. Yeah. So it's just a pull request with one file where you put the text of the tweet, and then once we merge it, it's automatically tweeted on Twitter. So yeah, if it comes to communication, you can also upfront prepare Twitter communication, or just ask someone to do it. and yeah, that's it. As simple as that. It's a lot of work. So basically, you're not left alone. Like for example, last release, it took us 3 hours to do it, like to release all the things because of the CI hiccups. Because of course we use CI, but it's for free, so there are some limits. So when we started triggering releases, then obviously tests were running everywhere, etc. So it's something that takes 3 hours, but it's not mainly because of the work that you have to put into it. It's just because you're delayed by CI. We during the last release, we captured all the things that were causing these hiccups during the release coordination. So I hope next time it's not going to be 3 hours. Now, if it comes to the automation, something important to know: you don't have to worry about getting latest spec once it's released to get it on the website also released, because we have it fully automated. So when you basically merge release candidate or any or official release into the spec repo, we have a workflow that will update it in the website. So this part you don't have to worry about at all. And as a release coordinator, I remember, but I don't know in what repo, but I think Jonas proposed somewhere that we could have more descriptive release notes in the GitHub spec repo, not just a link to the website article, but also a technical list of all the pull requests. So once we find the pull request, you can push it through for this release to make it like, I mean, I don't, if it's improvement to the release process, not very complicated. So let us just follow the idea from Jonas. We just need to make sure that it's this information ends up in the release process document for next release. And if you find something too complicated, something that could be automated, any improvements, like feel free to ask anyone. We can support if it comes to the automation. Not all the things, unfortunately, can be automated, but there's definitely something that you might spot that could be. Any questions?
No, I think that did all make sense, and it's all written up, so I'm sure I'll go back and refer to it as I go.
Okay, cool. Super cool. Thank you, Dale, for volunteering to make this release. And I'll just make sure that whenever somebody asks about the release, I will just send them to you.
Excellent.
And yeah, good luck. Any final words you want to say?
No, I guess I'll apologize in advance for all the things I break.
No worries. I was with every release, I was doing some mistakes, some too quick releases, some errors with automation. So these things happen. So no worries.
Awesome.
Okay. So everyone in the audience that watched it, thanks a lot for following. And next contributor first is next week. I don't know yet what day and what topic. Let's discuss in Slack in the how to contribute channel. Thank you again, Dale, for joining me.
Yeah.
And
Speak
bye.
to you soon.